What's the next? Dude, what are we talking about?
This guy, you know, I'm just floating it. Like, his attitude towards women stinks.
Well, how much have you heard?
All right,
I've seen some shit.
All right,
yeah, I've seen some shit too.
All right.
Like
I'll get it. I thought we were. I'm trying to.
Fucking booze here. I'm gonna open that.
I'm trying to introduce. I'm trying to introduce.
I want to move to Trench. I want to move it because tomorrow there's going to be an announcement that JP got hired by fucking Riot, and then the next day my stream is going to be gone, and I'm going to be fucking driving my '94 Supra down the street with fucking Gross Gore racing.
Yeah, but you ain't got to worry. You ain't got to worry about him. You ain't gonna worry about any of that because he doesn't get laid anyway, right?
All right. Let's talk Trump. Trump.
Yeah, let's talk Trump.
2016, obviously, interesting year, great year for him. He's going to be the president in a matter of a few weeks now. But,
not if Michael Moore has his way, that effective figurehead that he is.
Michael Moore, he knew it. He knew it this whole time.
When did
he knew it this whole fucking time,
dude? A fat fuck. Like, he looks like a fucking.
Michael Moore's always been overweight. What the fuck? What are you talking about?
No, he was always a fat fuck. Now he's got like a old reamed out lesbian head. When did that happen?
I don't know. I haven't seen him for a while.
Check it out now. Google a photo.
Always been. I don't think he looks any different than he used to look.
He looks the same to me.
Yeah, he looks the same to me. What the fuck are you talking about?
He was just a fat dude back when he did the fucking Flint thing. Anyway, whatever. Fuck Michael Moore.
All right, so Trump. Steven spent at least a good half of a year tweeting about this. So
tweeting at him as well. By the way, Steven, right? I just got to do a mental illness check on you, right? Do you honestly think when you tweet at Donald Trump, like, first of all, do you think A, Donald Trump has ever touched that Twitter account, and B, do you think you are talking to Donald Trump? Do you think he's going to pay attention to what you're saying?
Trump definitely.
He's definitely touched his Twitter account.
No, he's the one that does most of the charge on his account.
No,
I don't think Trump is ever going to respond. What?
No way. There's no way. There's no way.
It is. It absolutely is. There's a guy that did a big analysis on the different types of tweet that were going on during the election season, where you could trace the ones that were being made by his staffers, and you could trace the tweets that were being made by him, and it was very obvious which ones, based on like a data analysis of the type of vernacular
was
used.
Was that when they did that story where it was Donald Trump talks like a 9-year-old? That one?
I don't think so, but I know what you're talking about. But I mean, that wasn't untrue either. Trump uses a very simple vocabulary to communicate with people. I don't think you disagree with that, right?
Not a 4-year-old, but yes.
I think trying to frame him as having the intellect of fucking mainstream media disingenuousness.
No, I think if you act like you have the intellect of a 9-year-old, I think it's okay.
Oh, here we go.
All right, okay. Here we go. Right, Chris, you're the host. Sorry.
Okay.
That would have been.
All right.
Wait, what were we talking? Oh yeah, no. Anyway,
we have to frame this in some way. We got to frame this somehow.
I made those tweets because I like engaging political conversations. I'm not gonna lie. I've had more opportunity and shit open up to me over like the past few months doing this political shit than I had completely never believed it. Like, I got to talk to Sargon and Bakad for 2 hours. Who's a big dude.
Yeah, Ben's cool.
I got to talk to one of the Carl.
Sorry, mate.
I got to talk to one of the founding guys of Gamergate. I don't remember the fucking dude's name or whatever. I have a little game date where we're gonna play Stronghold. I'm talking to Lauren Southern, who just published a horrible fucking book in about a week.
Wow.
No, but like, dude, this is why I went to fucking Breitbart though. This is why I get Chris. I mean, I talked with Total Biscuit the other day.
I got to talk with Martin Shkreli for a couple hours.
I saw that though, but I mean, come on, dude.
I mean, is that the great?
You should be sharing a fucking cell with him.
Well, I'm just saying, I got a lot. I mean, because I actually had a thread pop up where somebody was like, "Jesse, why do you do this political tweeting stuff?" It's like, well, fuck, I've had a lot of fucking opportunities open up doing the political shit.
Here you go. So people,
I'm just saying that's why I do it.
Right. So here's why I went to Breitbart. Right. A lot of people, I was talking about it with John the other day, and he says, look, I think it's a fucking, sewer and like, each to their own, right? I don't give a fuck about that. But here's the point. Like, I went there because I saw them taking a stand against like internet censorship and all of that bullshit. And I worked in the tech section. Now, when I was over there, there was some really fucking awesome staff, like Alan Bakari, obviously Milo, who I worked directly under, not like that. And we published some stuff, nice. I think, by Lauren. We did anyway, whatever. The point is though, like it did open my opportunities. I got like speaking gigs out of that. I did some public speaking and stuff. And it's really fucked up because I was so nervous about joining Breitbart because I knew I was going to get called a fucking white supremacist and all this bullshit for the rest of time, from now until the end of time. Like, but it's just, I just didn't see any of that over there. Like when we used to sit in our Slack and we used to plan our stories out, no one ever said to me, oh yeah, we've really got to write up this story about immigrants, yeah, because fuck immigrants, fuck brown people. Like no one ever said that to me. I worked with Jewish people, yet, Steve Bannon gets called an anti-Semite. None of what I've heard about Breitbart aligns with what I, experienced when I was working there. And I wanted to say that actually, overall, in terms of it positioning me with the skeptic community and opening my horizons to be able to speak to people about politics rather than fucking esports, Breitbart was actually a good career move.
Not surprised. I'm not
yeah, it might have
surprised
been.
at all.
The problem, I don't know any of the other claims about everybody that works at Breitbart is evil or whatever. My problem with Breitbart is that they just post factually incorrect statements. That's my problem with Breitbart, is that they have no journalistic integrity, and a lot of the statements that they post are just devoid of fact. And it's just
which ones? Because when it comes to climate change, you know what, you know what, dude? I'll look. I don't agree with everything that's published over at Breitbart. But listen, I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. You find me a publication that is guilty of that in this day and age, and I'll fucking drop to my knees and suck your dick.
Yeah, but see, that kind of false equivalency is so disingenuous.
Yeah, no, and I agree with that. I'm not doing that. What I'm saying is
because there are other places that make mistakes, but if it's a bad mistake, usually there's a retraction. Sometimes people get fired over it. But at Breitbart will just post completely factually incorrect stuff, and they won't even look back.
So give me an example. Just give me one example. Let's talk about one example. That'd be nice. You asked for an example from me about venture capitalists coming in and replacing esports people. So just give me this.
Okay, hold on. Actually, because I talked about this on YouTube, and then they asked for an example, and then I went and I wrote up like 4 of them. Let me see if I can find the posts, because they were good examples.
And I've started on the hard stuff now, so
and I started up on the hard stuff.
The conversation has to go downhill from here. It can't get more intellectual, or I won't be able to.
We're talking about dead people soon, so it's all good.
That's good. I'm there.
I'm there.
Just while Steven's Googling for this definitely easy to find Breitbart lying thing, Carrie Fisher, dude.
Yeah. Carrie Fisher, rip Carrie Fisher. That was
a heavy blow, man. That was a heavy fucking blow.
Yeah, it was obviously unexpected too. We're gonna do our mini memoriam too, like for 2016. Okay. But Carrie Fisher today. All right, Steven.
When I post hello in Discord, do you see this?
Let's have a look.
Let me see.
Now, Discord are politically active, so they filtered out all Breitbart links. So,
do you see me when I say hello in Discord?
Yeah,
I saw you say hello. Yeah.
Okay, so somebody in my YouTube comment section asked me like, well, what is an example of Breitbart posting fact-checking? Sorry, so I made a thread, and we could probably go on Breitbart now, and I could find more of the same, but since it's live, I don't want to.
So we're back on the climate change issue, right? Specifically.
Well,
the one issue was on climate change, which is
I see abortion down there too.
Okay, yeah, the abortion thing is pretty much completely and totally made up. The numbers and everything and the science is just bad and not good. The top thing is insanely sensationalized and borderline not true. The group targeting Air Force football coach for tweeting Bible verses. Like there's a much more reasonable position that was going on. Like a lot of the Breitbart stuff is either just factually incorrect, like they were with the abortion article or the climate change stuff, or it's twisting things to be so extreme that they don't really have much to do with reality anymore. And then they present it as like alternative media.
So what I would say about this, I'm just looking at this abortion thing. And again, dude, like, trust me, it wasn't like my values perfectly tessellated with Breitbart. As like I said, they took a stand on the internet censorship and like common sense stuff. Like, I don't want legislature passing where I got to recognize 63 fucking genders and beyond, right? Like, that's madness to me. I'll respect everyone's right to be weird and everyone's right to be different. If you're going to fucking mandate legally, I have to use made up pronouns, go fuck yourself.
Okay, wait, what are we talking? Wait, what does this have to do with anything? Wait, what legal?
Because I'm saying Breitbart was taking a stand against that sort of thing. Right.
Okay, but that's never happened. Can you get...
And I'm coming back to this. So that was why I joined. Now, on abortion, obviously, I'm fucking pro-choice. Obviously. I don't even really see it as a debate. But in the interests of intellectual exploration, you can have an opinion. When you start picketing women trying to get abortions and being a piece of shit like that, go fuck yourself.
Sure, which is kind of what Trump has said he wants to move the direction of.
Not really. Not really. He is pro. Hold on. He's on record as saying he's pro-choice. So don't.
Wrong. You're wrong. Trump has specifically said that he wants to see abortion left to the states.
No, he wants to see abortion.
Well, left to the states. Left to the states. He did say
that. He wants to see illegal abortions punished. He said that. He's on record as saying that. I mean, here's the thing. According to the Washington Post, which again is a compromised publication, but whatever, it's as good as any. Right? Donald Trump took 5 different positions on abortion in 3 days. So who really fucking
whatever
knows?
People want to hear,
One of the positions that Trump said was that if people want to get an abortion, they can go to another state to do it. That's an exact.
No, if it was illegal in their state, that's what he said.
Yes.
Because no, but understand the position you're in as a presidential candidate. Well, what you have to do is you have to respect the laws of the land and the laws of.
Okay, and right now the Supreme Court has decided that abortion is legal throughout the United States. That's
so guess what? I think when Donald Trump's finally fucking sworn, I think he'll, because I know secretly he's been a liberal for the vast bulk of his life. That's inarguable.
No, he wasn't very secret about it before running, but sure.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm just going by statements that Trump has made. Real fast, because you brought up that Breitbart thing about the $250,000 thing. I posted that story in the thing. That's also not true. This whole story is pretty much completely false.
The what? Sorry.
The idea that you'll be fined $250,000 for misgendering somebody is pretty much also a completely made up story.
Oh yeah, but I never.
I'm just pointing this another story that's posted. There's another story.
You got Caitlyn Jenner. You got a picture of Caitlyn Jenner there.
Sense for doing it. It's stupid. So anyway, let's get back to this abortion article. Now I'm looking at this here, and I agree. These numbers have been, I guess you could say, misrepresented. I think that's a fair statement.
Well, and some of them are just wrong. If you go and you look at the actual NHS publications.
Right.
But,
Yeah. So the 10,733 not being 13,000, but it explains where they get that 13,000 number from. So yeah, look.
Got to get some views, Steven. I mean, that's just how it works sometimes.
Shut the fuck up, Chris. Are you being serious right now? You got to get some views by posting.
I think we all know ChanManV's desperate for that clickbait shit. So I think he is being fucking serious. But listen, right? I don't. This was they got a doctor to write it. So understand this, right? Like Dr. Susan Berry, who wrote this article, isn't Breitbart staffer as far as I'm aware. She may be like a contributor or something, but I don't. I think she gets paid per article. But I just go through all of her articles and what she has built herself as a doctor, as a scientific person. She's built herself as like somebody who is. All of her stuff's pretty much about abortion. Like abortion here, transgenderism here. Like,
okay, so wait, are you saying that excuses Breitbart?
No, absolutely fucking not. Absolutely fucking not. But what I'm saying is, I think she's of a particular stance, so she takes numbers and she cherry picks facts to make a more compelling argument.
Okay, but this is a bad thing.
That's what media is. In 2016, though,
so but why not to the level one publication and not the other? But you can't find stuff that's quite of the level of what Breitbart is on another level.
Absolute gibberish. Go and read a Salon article. Salon.
I don't care about Salon. I'm talking about mainstream outlets like Washington Post or CNN or Fox News or MSNBC.
On, don't make me say this because that those mainstream publications are doing that shit too.
No, they're not though, dog.
That's
total fucking horseshit. No, that's total bullshit, dude. If I go to Fox News and I read an article, I know that I'm getting something with a definite right-leaning slant, but I'm not reading something that's complete and total bullshit. If I go and read an article on CNN or MSNBC, I know that I'm getting, or the Washington Post, I know I'm getting stuff with it, or the New York Times, I'm getting left-leaning stuff, but I'm not getting 100% factually incorrect bullshit. If I go and read a story at the Federalist Papers or Breitbart or InfoWars, I don't even know if what the fuck I'm reading is true. This could be totally fucking.
Whoa. You're not conflating InfoWars on fucking Breitbart, are you?
Yeah, I think they're equal platforms.
Oh no, that ain't right.
Yeah, of course.
Dude.
Yeah, of course. I just showed you. Listen,
when you
in the past 5 minutes, I just showed you 4 different articles that were 100% factually incorrect. Wait, what do you mean 2?
I'm looking at 2.
Okay, well, I also linked the thing about the $250,000 fine, right? That's one.
Oh shit! I didn't even see that. So.
Yeah,
okay, well that. There's just 100% factually correct stuff there, and then we've got the thing on abortion here, which is just 100% factually incorrect. We've got the
Well, hang on though. Doesn't it
climate change stuff, which is 100% factually correct? And then the first thing about
Alan Bakari, Alan wouldn't do this. He holds himself to a very high standard. It says you could be fined $250,000. Is that not true? You could be.
The exact law says that employers must respect transgendered people's gender choices because gender discrimination protection laws will come into effect if you're intentionally harassing somebody who is an employee or a tenant of yours or whatever for being transgender.
So you could be fined $250,000.
Yes, but do you understand the difference? In one, but
you said it was factually inaccurate, so it's
because it is. Because the article makes it sound like if you're walking down the street and you accidentally misgender someone, right? Oh fuck, I got a $250,000 fine. No, that's not what the
look. It's very clear. Look what it says: incidents that are deemed willful and malicious will see property owners face up to $250,000 in fines.
Okay, but that's only when talking to tenants or if you're an employer talking to employees.
Property owners.
Yes,
there you go. It's very clear. It's not saying the average guy on the street would do it.
Talking to tenants, though, not just you own a house and you say something to somebody, right?
Well, standard violations of the law, so implies that isn't the standard because the follow-on sentence, standard violations of the law will result in a $125,000 fine. So half of that. All right. So come on, that's not factually inaccurate, dude. Come on.
It's the headline.
Is it sensational? That's different. That's not inaccurate. That's not a lie.
I don't know.
Sensational ain't a lie, Stephen. You know it.
Listen,
I know it.
Let me read you the article. Maybe it's not your strong point, okay? The title is New York City will fine you $250,000 for misgendering a transsexual. Okay, well, maybe when they say you, that's just sensational. Let's do the first line. Did you call a transsexual person he or she when they preferred to be called Z? According to a newly updated anti-discrimination law in New York City, you could be fined an eye-watering
Whoa. Don't emphasize you. Don't emphasize you. And the word to emphasize in that sentence is could.
But you couldn't be. You couldn't be.
I might own property.
The title still.
Because it's not to you. It is to employers and property owners seeking tenants.
Who are reading paper, might be those things. I could.
Never mind. Okay.
This is getting ridiculous.
All right. Seriously, you might win the odd esports argument over there. Don't fuck with me with the English.
Okay, but you see, the problem is that this is a pretty horrendously fucking misinterpretation of exactly what's going on. That we've got it. This is pretty far out of what's actually happening, right?
Yeah, it's called sensationalism.
It's sensationalism. He's right. He's right on when it's talking about
sensationalism exists, brother. It's
on purpose.
In a dying medium, in a dying fucking medium. Why would you click on one thing and not the other? It's got to speak to you. How do I make it speak to you? So it's sensational clickbait. Exactly. Am I disputing that Breitbart puts salacious, sensational fucking headlines? Fuck no, of course they do. Them and everyone else, though. So don't hold them accountable when you wouldn't hold these guys over here accountable. And this is the thing. You think what? Like, hang on. I thought about this. You were talking about, when have the Washington Post ever lied? You see all that stuff about fucking Russian propaganda? I think it was the Washington Post. I did a show on it a few weeks ago. But anyway, the bottom line is, like, they published shit and had to recant it. They've published out-and-out lies about Trump that everyone in a common-sense fucking environment knows is a lie.
Can you name one lie that was posted or one thing about the Russian shit that was wrong that was posted?
Okay, let me find it, though. Because, again,
the Russian shit was backed up by the FBI and CIA. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't think
spend so long pre-show doing a sound check. Right on, Stephen. I don't have time to Google all this shit and bring it on a fucking doc.
Okay, but I'm just. But you say this like.
All right, we really got to talk about that
because it's true.
No, because this is my problem, Chan. This is my problem, Chan. The problem, Chan, man, is that when people go out to vote, right, the things that are in their heads are just completely bogus shit that's been like, well, fuck, like, I don't want to go to New York City and get fined $250,000 for fucking misgendering someone. This is some fucking bullshit, right? When in reality.
The bigger question, Stephen, is why do they have that legislature? Why do they recognize 63 different fucking genders or whatever it is? Isn't that crazy?
The legislation basically made it so that transgendered people, as soon as you invoke somebody's transgenderedness, all of the normal protection laws that fall in line for gender discrimination also fall in line for transgender discrimination. So if somebody comes in and they look like a guy or whatever, and they want to be called a he or whatever, but you happen to know that they're a she, and you're an employer, and every time they come in, you're like, hey, what's up, girl? Hey, she, right? Every time you see them, that counts as gender harassment, the same way that's all the law says. You can't harass people for their gender. You can't harass people for their race. Yeah, all of these things already exist as laws, right? So New York City has just also taken in transgendered issues under the umbrella of gender issues. Like that's what that law says.
So here's the thing, right? Here's the thing, dude. I agree with you, right? Like, do you know how many transgender people I fucking know? Like, it's a fucking lot. Like, I'm way above the average. way above the average, right? Now, I've never met a transgender person that wants a special fucking pronoun. Whichever way they're going, whether they're going from she to he or he to she, they consider the fucking badge of honor. They consider the job done. They consider getting to the other side and being recognized as that, you know, gender.
Right.
That's it, right? I never met a fucking true, honest to God transgender person who fucking wants to be called something special or, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I think if you deliberately go after somebody who is, you know, like in that transition, and you can tell maybe they don't pass, maybe they didn't get on hormones soon enough, maybe there's something about them that stands out, right? And you deliberately say, well, I'm not calling you a fucking woman. I don't like that. I think that's hateful. I don't think you should treat people that way. That's what the law
was targeting.
But this is the point. Once you start mandating and legislating, it opens up the door to insanity, because now what we're saying is we can do this. No, listen, hear me out. We
should let people like racially.
No one's doing that though. No one is doing that.
No one's doing what? No one's racially harassing someone if you're an employer, or if you can discriminate on housing.
No, I'm talking about what this legislature was designed to stop. Like what? If you're the fucking landlord, like I come round, where's my fucking rent? He, you know, I'm a she. Fuck off, he. Like I don't buy that. I don't believe that's happening. I think people are way more fucking tolerant these days than they ever fucking have been. That's my personal experience. That's my experience from talking to transgendered people. Like generally, if you misgender someone, it's an accident. You know?
Sure, and for those people, they're not impacted whatsoever by this law. This has nothing to do with that. It's with people that are willfully or maliciously misgendering someone in order to make fun of them for being a transgender person.
But where do you stand on Z and Zer and Fee and Fur and other kin and elf kin? Where do you stand on that shit?
Most of those I think are fucking retarded. I don't.
Yeah,
all I know is that this particular thing had to deal with bringing gender rights under, or bringing transgender rights under gender protection laws, is what this thing in particular had to do.
Okay, let's bring it back.
I don't know about recognizing.
We're not even talking about Trump right now, are we, Chris?
Let's bring it back. We got all the way down into Breitbart and everything, but let's bring it back to Trump here. Okay, so beginning of 2016 or end of 2015. Any of you guys think that Donald Trump would be the president of the United States in 2017?
Here's what I will say. I knew he was going to get the Republican nomination. I was completely in on him getting the Republican, because they left it too late to gang up on him, right? That was the thing that they all did. All those fucking idiots, Rubio, all those guys. I mean, shit. And Trump was murdering them every debate. And listen, if there's one thing that people like, it's a good fucking roast. Right? I know it sounds.
I think
so
the people watching the show understand that.
Obama's helped foster that culture for 8 years. The roast. What was I never saw a president before Obama doing comedy fucking roasts on people, straight fucking grilling people like in his addresses and stuff.
You know that George Bush literally invited Stephen Colbert to the White House, right, to do his speech.
Yeah, because George Bush couldn't handle.
But that wasn't him doing it. Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying. I never seen a president fucking do it. So when Donald Trump came rolling along, the people were all finally attuned, right? Like, and Donald Trump fucking murdered people. Like, you know, the shit that got said about Ben Carson and this guy, unreal. Like, you know, that he's losing. That's why he's out there on the right and all this shit. Like, incredible, right? Donald Trump knew he was box office. And I could see it. I could see at that point he was going to win the nomination. By the time they all ganged up on him and started saying all of Donald Trump's clear, you know, foibles, quirks, flaws, whatever you want to call them, it was too fucking late. They left it too late to rise against him. So when he gets the Republican nomination, and Hillary Clinton's had her slickly oiled DNC machine literally fuck Bernie out of it. I'm sure, Stephen, you've read the Podesta leaks. I'm sure you've seen that Hillary very clearly used the DNC to work against Bernie Sanders, had journalists published that he was anti-women. This great old guy. Understand, by the way, like, it's not like I'm against Democrats. I'm in the middle. I'm a centrist, I suppose. I pick and choose based on the issues. Bernie Sanders got absolutely fucking wrecked by his own party, and it was sad to see him literally. You've seen The Walking Dead when Negan goes, "Just so you know what happens, I slid my dick down your throat and you thanked me for it." That's Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders took that dick right down his throat and didn't say a fucking word, you know, and said, we've all got to get on board with Hillary, because he was just as fucked up believing that Trump weren't going to drain the swamp and all this nonsense. Now, when it came to election day, and I had a great experience election day. I had fucking Thorin.
All of you guys were drinking together. I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we were doing spirit cooking. We were still wrecking on the fucking Podesta leaks about that shit. We were saying might order a pizza and all this. Like, we don't give a fuck. So we're watching the election coming in, and we had a rule saying every time Donald Trump wins a swing state, we're going to do this and da. But I went in saying I could see a path to a Donald Trump victory, because everything in the build-up to Hillary Clinton, the Hillary's health debate, some of the policies she said, especially on taxation. I mean, Stephen, this is one of the things you didn't talk a lot about, was she literally came out, and any Republican that might have been against Trump and might have sided with her when she brought in that ridiculous, what was it, 60% tax and crazy inheritance tax laws. Once she brought that in, she isolated almost anyone left who would have supported her with money. She refused to go and campaign in key fucking states on the ground in the build-up. I mean, she was notoriously lazy. You know, Donald Trump was packing in like
I don't know
two, three rallies sometimes in a single night.
I don't know if it was.
She didn't do it. She didn't do that. She did. Well, she was. I don't know if it was overconfidence or stupidity or her campaign poorly advised her. But
I think it's a combination of that. Yeah.
And honestly, there was nothing better that summarized Hillary Clinton. Like, after it was announced that she lost, she sent fucking one of those motherfuckers from the Podesta leaks. It was a Podesta who came out, and he said to everyone, Hillary Clinton's incredibly tired, but it's not over. It's not over. Keep fighting, guys. You go out, win or lose, and you talk to your fucking base. You talk to your base. These people for fucking 18 months have slogged and worked and promoted you, and she couldn't even go out and face them because she'd lost. So fuck her. She's a fucking career criminal anyway. Honestly, she's one of the most loathsome politicians alive right now. You know, that just call it like it is. Now, does that mean I'm a Trump supporter? Fuck no. But if I had to pick between somebody who'd been in elected office and took bribes and used a charity to get fucking stuff illegally and had been involved in the Benghazi fucking scandal and had violated national security instead of, like, she had the chance and fucked it. So I know she's corrupt. I don't know Donald Trump is corrupt on an elected official basis. That was the key point for me.
So did you think she was gonna? Did you think he was gonna win though? You still didn't really answer that.
Oh, so I told you on election day it was palpable.
It's palpable.
I went in. No, seriously, I went in honestly because let's be real. Things the media didn't report. This little fucking bubble that these motherfuckers exist in, and this is the key thing. No one's ever talked about the true divide. The true divide in America is the city and the country. It's the true divide. There's a few fucking ridiculous liberal-leaning cities, and they sit in an echo chamber, and they don't know what it's like to be blue-collar, and they don't know what it's like to work on a bread line, and they don't know what it's like to live in some tiny little fucking Hicksville fucking town where you've still got a Blockbuster open, and that's your principal way of entertainment. Yeah. Legit. Like, they don't know what it's like. They don't talk about how heroin overdoses from bad heroin are going up in rural communities. Here's what they do talk about: white privilege. Go talk to a poor white person living in a trailer park and ask them about privilege. Do they feel privileged? No, they fucking don't. Because they ain't. It's bullshit. It's a lie. So they white guilted, like, the vast majority of America. The people who might not they might not run America, but they make America run, right? You fucking white guilt all of them. You treat them like shit. You tell them they're racist. You tell them they're morons. And then you wonder why they will not go out and vote for your candidate. And that is the conceit of these cities, these liberal, intellectual, elite, effete cities. That's what went wrong. And then you come in. I forget that Hillary Clinton's one of the most candidates to ever fucking run for office in any country. She's up there with an African fucking dictator for me. Right? She's like Idi Amin levels of corruption and bullshit. So you then have the fucking audacity, like on election night, you're telling everyone, hey, don't even vote. It's all over. It's a slam dunk. It's in the bag. Huffington Post, 98.1% that Hillary Clinton's going to fucking win. Right? You treat everyone like a fucking moron. Meanwhile, what the papers aren't reporting is, and I went to a Trump rally in Nevada because I was out in America all that year. And let me tell you, it was packed. It was packed to the rafters. And I didn't hear one racist thing. I didn't hear anything like that. I saw good, honest, working people crowded in a building to see a candidate that they genuinely believed would represent their interests when they got into the fucking White House. Probably for the first time in their lives, actually. Now, whether that belief is misplaced or not, how the fuck could you not pick him over her? How the fuck could you not if you're working class? And that's what it's about. It ain't about race. I talked to many black people, many Latinos. I talked to loads of people from all different backgrounds.
You won a lot of the racial
We're all
votes.
unified. We're all unified by being fucking poor, by not having money. And she was a 1%er all the fucking way. So
not Trump. Trump's not a 1%er.
All right. Let's
no.
This is what actually happened. So this is what actually happened.
Yeah, let me hear Steven's
Richard Lewis was getting closer towards the end there. So basically, there is a massive divide between rural and city folk in the United States. I don't know where this idea comes from that city folk live in a bubble and rural people don't. I guess both people have their own bubbles. Rural folk live in their bubble, and city people live in their bubble. And there have been destructive things that have happened to the economy over the past, 20 or 30 years. And the concerns, I guess, of rural folk have never really been addressed by politicians for whatever reason. Maybe because more people in cities, it's where most of the media comes from. It's where most of the entertainment, it's where most of the culture comes from, like these big cities that everybody in the rural areas kind of get left behind. I think that by the time this election season rolled around, anti-establishment was more or less the entire trend of this election. You saw it on the Republican side where Trump continued to carry himself through, and you saw it on the Democrat side where Bernie got way farther than he ever should have. The only difference is Trump is a fucking billionaire and Bernie has fuck all for money. So he was starting off much farther behind. Yeah, that's fine.
If I could have
Bernie started off much farther behind. Bernie started off much farther behind than Trump because of a lack of money and because his party had more in place to work against him, especially with the superdelegate system than the Republicans did. The Republicans working against Trump, they didn't take him seriously for the first 2/3 of it, and by the last third, it was already pretty much too late at that point. But it was pretty much people in the United States have been sold an idea about the current state of the United States via social media or whatever, that the entire United States is going to shit. And because they feel that way, especially if you're in rural areas, if you feel that way, you're looking to vote for somebody that's not part of the political establishment. It really doesn't matter who that person is. It happened to be Trump this time because when he talks, he makes
it literally
you feel
could
special.
have been anybody.
Down below inside your pants, right?
I mean, going into this election, I mean, it didn't even matter who the candidates were. Like, if you just ignore all the primaries, like the Republican Party had an advantage going into this election. Like, they literally could have put anybody up there besides Trump, and it probably would have been a landslide, actually, and they would have won.
Probably. I think that both sides put up the worst candidates.
They put the worst. I mean, the only reason that the Democrats even had a chance was because
the
it was
Democrats.
Trump.
Yeah, the Democrats chose the only person. I think that that
exactly.
dude or whatever probably could have beat Trump. Bernie definitely would have beaten Trump. And I even fucking Biden.
Here's the thing. Here's the thing. If the DNC had been smart, right, they would have seen what the fundamental issues with Hillary were, what the temperature check on America was. And they would have jettisoned her. They would have got rid of her and said, "Listen, darling, I know it. You fucking really want this. Your entire political life has been about this moment. It ain't happening. You better fucking get some vitamins in you and live until you're 73, because you ain't getting this, right?" And if the DNC had been a strong party, they would have done that, but they didn't do that. What they did was instead they fucked an old man who stood for socialist values. And by the way, Stephen, I mean, you must agree with me on this point. You're talking about how Trump had no solutions. He could identify problems, but he had no solutions.
No,
I felt the same with Sanders, right? Like,
I think that Sanders. No.
What are you going to put in that place?
First of all, Sanders actually gave one of the most reasonable responses I've ever heard. When he was asked about breaking up the big bank, Sanders literally said that he wouldn't do it because as president, he didn't feel he had the authority to. He said that he would leave that up to whatever parts of Congress were in charge of regular financial
reasonable
regulation.
Response or a cop-out.
Yeah, it was. No, that was the correct response because the president doesn't. Right, a Trump response would have been, "I'm literally going to walk in there and use my dick to."
What he would have said exactly was, he would. Let me tell you, I know a thing or two about banking. I've worked with banks many years ago. But we have to stop these banks, and I'll tell you, when I get in power, I'm gonna. I know what he would have said. Right?
The Sanders had realistic plans that they would have involved massive fucking tax hikes, but they were realistic. Now, whether or not America would have went for it or whether they would have been good or bad is an entirely different discussion. None of Trump's plans right now are rooted in reality. He wants to increase federal spending in a lot of different ways. He wants to do this massive fucking wall project, which people say will take up to $20 billion. He wants to do, I don't remember how big, a nationwide infrastructure rebuilding program that's more federal spending. He wants to grow the size of the military. That's more federal spending. And at the same time, he wants to make historic tax cuts that, if if our current federal spending were to stay the same, would lead to 10 to 20 trillion dollar deficits over the next decade, right? And that's after taking into account any economic stimulus. And the tax policy review and the tax policy center have all done their reviews of the tax plan. Even taking into account hypothetical economic growth, these tax plans would still leave us with massive shortfalls, 10 trillion plus over the next decade. So none of Trump's plans are rooted in any type of reality. Although I shouldn't really say that. It's not fair to say that because nobody actually knows what the fuck any of Trump's plans are because he seems to change plans every day or two, right?
No, but
I think the most damning thing, and you can keep quoting me on this, and if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong, but I sincerely believe that after 2 years, I don't think the ACA is going to change that much. I don't think that Obamacare is going anywhere. And I could be wrong on that, but we'll see. Yep.
No,
I don't
listen,
think so.
Wow.
I'll tell you this. You can see the writing on the walls for that. Stephen's right. Trump's already said there's elements of Obamacare I like. Like he
likes pre-existing condition, and if you have pre-existing condition, you probably need the mandate, and those are the two biggest parts of the Affordable Care Act, right? And who is going to campaign? And again, leaving partisan bullshit to the side, let's be real. Who's going to stand up and campaign on behalf of taking a whole bunch of people who are now on insurance off because they have pre-existing condition? Nobody's going to be that politician. Not even the most evil Republican in the world is going to get up and do that because they know it's going to make them look unpopular as fuck.
Well, right? So, Stephen, on real talk, what do you think about Obamacare? Did you think it's helped you out as an American?
Well, no, because I had to get insurance.
Right.
I mean, the Obamacare is the Affordable Care Act. The Affordable Care Act did three very important things, okay? One, it expanded coverage, which it did successfully. Millions of more people are on insurance more today than have ever been on the history of all of fucking American bullshit, right? So the Affordable Care Act expanded coverage massively. It did that successfully. The Affordable Care Act brought people in who were in pre-existing conditions into insurance plans, and it did that successfully. And the Affordable Care Act made insurance companies shape up because a lot of the coverage being offered before was actual bullshit. You hear a lot of people complaining, well, I had insurance before Obamacare, and now it's gone. Chances are the insurance that you had was probably shit, and it would have left you out to dry even if you had a severe medical issue. Again, before this election, the majority of bankruptcies, before the Affordable Care Act, the majority of bankruptcies being filed in the United States were over medical reasons. And over half of the people that filed bankruptcy for medical reasons had health insurance when they filed for bankruptcy. So something was clearly
and I agree with this, right? And I've never understood the Republican argument that it's about choice, because I feel like a lot of people that have to enter into this paid healthcare system and this insurance system, I don't think they got any fucking goddamn choice at all. Well,
so these are your differences, and again, keep in mind there is a fundamental different view of government between somebody from the United Kingdom and somebody from the United States.
Yeah,
in the United States, you have a fundamental distrust of government. So when a Democrat gets up and talks about expanding government healthcare, you hear things like single payer pop into mind. You hear anti-capitalism. You hear you're going to get rid of competition, which has been our main pricing factor for making everything in the United States work. So you're doing an anti-capitalist route. You're bringing in socialization. You're adding a layer of government bureaucracy to things, and government has fucked up all these things in the past. So that's the general argument against socializing healthcare, is that you're introducing government, you're getting rid of the free market, and you're going to make things more expensive and more bloated. And now we're not even going to have an alternative choice for healthcare because the government is going to be the sole provider of it. Yeah.
So, I mean, long story short, though, right? Like, let's be real. Like, Obama's going to try and file Obamacare. It's even named after him. In his legacy of great things, what I did for America, I don't see Obamacare as a success, honestly. I supported it when it was introduced.
So Obamacare was successful in the 3 points that I mentioned. The major failing of Obamacare is that it did not address price. But Obamacare was gutted so that it could never address price, and it was never meant to. It couldn't. That legislation could not do anything to control the rising cost of healthcare because Obamacare didn't give Medicaid the ability to negotiate on price. Medicaid, I think in the United States is not allowed to negotiate with pharmaceuticals on prices for drugs. So whereas in the United Kingdom, your NHS is able to negotiate, and as a single payer system, right?
But we still get gouged on fucking drug prices.
But it's not even close to the amount of gouging.
No, you're right, but I can't tell you how many relatives, like the NHS is held up by the Americans as like and Michael Moore did this as well, as some sort of utopia for free health.
It's not a utopia, but it's way better. It's way better than what we have in the United States.
You Google the words postcode lottery, the amount of relatives I've die from treatable cancers is unfucking believable.
Okay, but how many people in the United States die from treatable way less than cancer?
No, but check this. This is what's fucking crazy, dog. Right? In Britain, right, we had the money, but they couldn't use the drugs if you lived in certain parts. That's what's fucking wild about Britain. That's the thing they never talk about.
I'm not saying that your system is perfect. Canada's system isn't perfect. I know that the NHS has problems, waiting times and availability and whatnot, and I know that there are things, but it's better than what we have in the United States of America.
And listen, and I agree. I've got to go have an operation. I got to go have an operation. So I'm looking forward to seeing how this pans out.
Sure, I'll be paying about $450 a month if I get health insurance. I'll be paying $450 a month to cover me and my girlfriend, and I get nothing for that. No copay, no nothing. And my deductible is like $20,000. No, my because that's the cheapest plan available with the highest deductible is like $20,000 is my out of pocket. So,
yeah, dude. I remember when I signed up to Turner, they sent the HR rep down. They gave me these brochures, and they said, like, here you go. You got to get yourself a healthcare plan. We offer loads of different ones. And you get full benefits, right? So I was like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand any of this. Like, talk me through it real simple, because I'm from a place where our healthcare is free. And again, that's disingenuous because you wait 2 years to get it and you already die of the condition you had. But
right. Yeah.
So they took me through it. I didn't even know what a fucking deductible was. They were talking to me like I was a fucking infant.
Lawyer?
Like,
oh, sure.
Yeah, like, you need this deductible and you pay this and then you got principal and what the, how much? Like, just tell me.
Just tell me how much.
How fucking much
for a checkup? How much for a checkup?
Yeah, how much for a checkup? And that's the thing, man. Like, even going to have my nuts grabbed and cough, that's like $300. Like, yeah, there is a problem in America, like, no doubt, right? Like, but at the end of the day, like, Obamacare didn't fix any of those problems.
Well, again,
it doesn't fix it for the people that already have it.
Obamacare addressed the three things that I said. It didn't address them.
Increased the costs for something like a crazy amount of families. So
yeah,
it did. It increased the costs.
Health insurance costs are going up by, like, I want to say 24% on average this year, and they were only going up by 12 to 15% on average, but they were still going up. Obamacare did not address price, right? The reason why the Affordable Care Act will be seen as a positive legacy for Obama at 10, 20, 30, 40 years now when you study it is because it's moving the United States and having a conversation about our healthcare. So our healthcare in the United States is similar to our immigration problems, where you can go all the way back to fucking Reagan and even earlier, where people are saying, like, we have a massive problem with immigration. Guess what? Nobody's done fuck all about immigration fucking ever. It's just nobody's fucking done anything with it. Fucking period.
Obama. Do you think immigration applies pressure?
Real fast. I'm just saying that, like, healthcare was the same thing, where healthcare has been a problem for fucking 20, however many fucking years, but Obama actually got legislation through that's going to force us to actually confront it. It has to happen now, right? Which is a good thing. Whether you think Obamacare is good or bad, no matter which side you fall on, you have to admit that at least, well, now we're going to have a real fucking conversation on it, because this shit is real. The fucking penalties are real. The payments and mandates are real. Right. You're going to have to figure something out.
2017 edition, I guarantee you Trump has put something better in.
Well, not in a year. There's no way. It's not in a year.
What's going to be better about it?
As in, it's going to reduce costs for the average American.
Oh, Trump is going to do something to reduce costs.
Oh, with the existing thing? You mean with existing?
Dude,
okay.
If Trump does it, listen, man, I don't think he's going to do it. But if he does, I will be so fucking happy to admit that I'm wrong, because that would be.
Will you recant some of the shit you said about him? You've made him out some megalomaniacal fucking despot who's going to kill everyone.
If he could actually reduce the cost of healthcare for the first time in United States history, I would be amazed. I would be so happy.
Well, but I don't think I've seen some of the early proposals, his plans, like that he's been talking about in public, and of course he says a lot of things. Like, he's a classic politician. He'll say whatever he thinks is topical at the time to get him the votes. That
just like any
sure. Yeah, right. But here's the thing. Honestly, Obamacare fucking was poorly executed. I know Obama had resistance from the fucking House. I know how it works, right? But here's the point. You're gonna take something that was a good idea in theory, terrible in execution. Trump's already said, look, do you know what? I don't actually want to dismantle that. I want to refine that. I think the average American is going to have a much better deal for healthcare under Trump than under Obama.
Yeah, but the only way to do it is with what? With single payer? How are you going to do it? Is Trump going to move single payer? Because Trump has said that he likes Medicare.
Yeah. So, you're right. He has said that. Okay, but again, he said a lot of things. Going to happen. He's going to get.
How are you going to push that with Republicans having both chambers?
People who are going to say, "Look, we can fuck you up and make sure you don't get a second term," and they're going to sit in a room and they're going to thrash it out. But here's the bottom line. The bottom line is this: like, costs are going to go down. That's going to be one of the first things he's going to cement in his legacy as president. He'll cement a bunch of other stuff, some of it good, some of it bad. That's every fucking president. What I can't stand about the Trump mythology is people are going to try and make out that before he gets into office, he's a worse president than George fucking Bush Jr. Load of shit. I saw when people like, oh, Trump's appointed someone who doesn't believe in climate change to the EPA. Right now, that was Pruitt, right? Now, let me tell you, the only evidence that Pruitt is anti-climate change is one article, one editorial he wrote, where he said, quote, I think that I don't think the science is decided, and I believe a healthy debate should be ongoing, and we shouldn't encourage people to say that it is decided. Consensus means nothing within science. That's what he said.
Okay, that's a pretty extreme statement.
It's not an extreme statement because think about it. Like people thought we revolved around the sun, the fucking sun revolved around the earth, right?
Hold on.
Heliocentric.
No.
That was scientific consensus.
No.
And I'm not saying that as a climate change denier because I know it's very real.
Okay, no. You can speak with degrees of certainty about different things. Whether or not the sun revolved around the earth or the earth revolved around the sun are things that people at the time knowingly were making very, very, very primitive calculations. And people knew that the earth revolved around the sun and that the earth was round.
They killed any motherfucker that said the opposite.
Okay. Sure. Sometimes
that's right.
Okay, what are you talking about here?
But listen. What I'm saying is this is like saying that like hydrogen, okay, is on the hydrogen's place on the periodic table of elements is up for debate because people used to believe this random scientific fact in the past. That's not how that works. Okay,
no,
there is no scientific debate on climate change.
Yeah,
there are no scientific organizations that disagree.
I agree with you. But they are using one sentence to say he's a climate change denier.
Well, because that sentence it would be the same as if I were to make the statement that like, well, I don't know, I don't know, evolution may or not be true. And, intelligent design's got some strong points to it. I think there should be a healthy debate. Yeah. Right.
Okay. So here's the thing, like have that debate and get wrecked by science.
But that's not how that works. Nobody cares about the debate because nobody cares about facts anymore. Nobody gives a fuck about what's true or not true. So we need our leaders to tell us because people in general are too dumb to decide, what's worth reading or what's worth listening to.
We just talked about
there are a lot of people.
So now you want the benevolent almighty God Emperor leader.
Right now, there are a lot of people in the United States who have heard statements like this who think that there is a genuine debate in the scientific community over climate change. There's not. It's a settled issue. We know that humans have had a dramatic impact on climate on the earth. That's a settled issue.
Dude,
now,
what we do, choir here. Like I agree with you.
But what I'm saying is, I don't want to have a conversation, a national dialogue about whether
it wasn't a national dialogue. It was a sentence in an article he wrote years ago. And when he got a point,
listen. People when you say something like that,
one at a time.
Pointing people to the EPA that had been involved in mass deforestry, all sorts of shit.
What I'm saying is that there doesn't need to be a national dialogue on whether or not climate change is true, which that kind of comment invites. There needs to be a national dialogue on how do we move towards more responsible energy programs without destroying our fucking economy, right? Because we can't have that conversation because we're too busy arguing about whether or not fucking the sun cycles or some stupid fucking bullshit or the cows farting or whatever are totally natural shit.
Whoa. Cows farting is a big issue. Methane is a big issue.
Methane.
It is. It's a big issue. I watched Cowspiracy.
Okay.
It's a big issue. You gotta stop. If everybody was a vegan, as fucking lame as that is.
All right.
You know that, but no, that's not true. If everybody was a vegan, we wouldn't be massively producing cows to fucking feed them, dog.
Exactly. So there wouldn't be any cows farting. That's the point.
Okay. So first of all, I don't think that methane is as harmful. I don't think that methane is as harmful as carbon, right? I don't think that that's true.
Well,
carbon's
this documentary's kind of saying different though.
It's not I don't know what the one. Okay. Listen, regardless, that's irrelevant. The fact of the matter is, the conversation needs to be: what direction do you take to ensure that you have a happy future? Not is this even a problem, right? Do you understand the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
You have a bunch of people it's the same thing with healthcare, okay? This is very fucking frustrating to me, okay? It's the same thing with healthcare, okay?
He's purposely triggering you, man.
This is actual trigger, dude.
Okay, but you say it's triggering, but half of the fucking retards that think this fucking voted for Trump as president because they don't know fuck all about anything, okay? So it's a very, very, very frustrating thing to talk about, okay? Listen,
you're being kind with half. The vast majority of the electorate don't know shit. I thought we knew that.
Sure, that's possible, okay? But the problem is that
plus who voted for Hillary didn't know shit.
Sure, that's
Don't
possible too.
pour
Okay,
the morons on the fucking Republican side.
Sure, that's possible too. Okay, the problem though is that the conversations that we have in America are not conversations that produce or that are productive to anything good.
Results, sure.
Okay, I don't want to have a conversation over whether or not our healthcare system is good or bad. That's fucking retarded. And Republicans keep talking about returning to our past healthcare. Our healthcare is a fucking disaster. So let's have a conversation on how to improve it, right? Same thing with climate change. Let's talk about how to improve it, right? These are conversations that need to be had, but aren't happening because people like Breitbart are pushing the narrative into these crazy directions based on these things that aren't actually happening, right? It's the same thing with fucking immigration too.
And there you go. So someone's just linked me to this. Thank you very much for doing that. Methane is just directly behind carbon dioxide in impacts on the overall greenhouse effect. So it's definitely worth talking about. Anyway,
sure.
ChanMan, can we take a time out while I take a piss? And then when we come back, can we talk about how Steven's going to prove me Trump's racist? Can we do that?
Yes. All right. Let's take a quick break, guys. We'll be right back.
If I don't piss, I can't think.